Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show, by any host, or by any guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before you begin any new diet, exercise, or training program. And thank you for listening to the Whole Care Network.
Welcome to Healing Ties on the Whole Care Network. On Healing Ties, we're creating a life to love after caregiving ends by sharing stories and resources and being with awesome people like you. Now that caregiving has ended, let the Healing Ties begin. Here's your host, Chris McClellan, the Bow Tie Guy.
Well, greetings everyone. It is Chris McClellan, the Bow Tie Guy, for another episode of Healing Ties. Thanks for joining me today. Just a couple of quick updates on the Whole Care Network. We're pretty excited as today. Well, let's see, what is today? I think it's May 22nd, but maybe I should check the calendar. I know it's Monday, but otherwise we are excited that our first inaugural blog post on the Whole Care Network will be posted either later on today or tomorrow. It's all written, it's edited. Might need to change a couple of the graphics, but we're excited to share our first Whole Care Network blog post with you, our listeners, as we continue to grow the Whole Care Network. A couple of other exciting things that are happening this week on the network. We're debuting 2 shows, and one is called The Family Caregiver with Greg Moore, and then the second show, let's see, that is with Bonnie K. Brown. Bonnie's over in St. Petersburg, and her show is called A Better Life. So look for those shows to be debuting this week on the Whole Care Network. And also, before we get going with our special guest today, I want to send out a hello and a shout out to all our friends over in the UK on ukhealthradio.com. We certainly appreciate your support of the show. Well, we appreciate everybody's support of the show, but we're just real proud to be a part of the great work that Johan and his team on the UK Health Radio platform is doing, and appreciate them hosting Healing Ties. You know, it's interesting as I think about UK Health Radio. There's a couple of different nuances. So here in the States, we talk about the show host being the host, like myself, I'm the host. Well, over in the UK, the hosts are really the presenters. You're the presenter of your show. So it's, again, just a couple of different nuances as we talk with our good friends across the pond. So enough of that jibber jatter. So let's get to our special guest today. Well, you know, all my guests are special, but when you know that they're coming back for a second round of Healing Ties, you know they're extra special. And my guest today, author C.J. Golden, is her book, One Petal at a Time, a novice caregiver and her cyclist husband face their new normal with courage, tenacity, and love, was published late last year, and now we're having a follow-up conversation with CJ. So CJ, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. It's so much fun to be back. I'm feeling very special.
Well, you should be, because I was just so tickled to get your note a few weeks ago about doing another show, and it was a no-brainer. So and today's the day.
Thank you. Well, it was kind of a no-brainer to reach out to you also. You know, with May being Family Support Month, I think particularly your message and mine and so many others in our similar but not the same shoes. We have much to, I believe, to share, to give about family support.
Oh, I agree with that, CJ, because here on the Whole Care Network, we believe that story sharing is where diversity meets the road to combat a common cause, and that's that's why we're doing what we're doing is to share our stories to really to help people who are on these same journeys that we've been on.
And, we learn from each other, because each journey, while they are similar, are not exactly the same. And that which I've learned from you already, and hopefully you've learned some from me, and as we speak to more and more people, more and more caregivers, we glean more information that we can then go out and share with the caregiving community. And I do believe that that's what it's all about. We are here to learn through our lives, but not to keep it within ourselves, but to give it to others.
Oh, we connect 100%, and I'm pretty sure you'll agree with us that the best resources are from one caregiver to another, because when you've been in the trenches, you can certainly be rest assured that when somebody is presenting a referral or suggestion to you that is currently a caregiver or former caregiver, you can trust that referral 100%.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, I'm going to change the subject here, because you had said something to me before we got on the air that just perked my interest. And, because my favorite cake is pineapple upside down cake. But when you had said to me before we went on the air, caregiving is not a piece of cake, I just, goodness, it just really resonated with me. But I want to make it my favorite cake, though. I want to make it my pineapple upside down cake. So, let's talk this out a little bit. How did you come up with this phrase? What struck you about that just kind of resonated in your mind and in your heart?
What's very interesting is that it started quite without thought. I had my book launch back in January, and the local bakery made a sheet cake for me at my request, and they superimposed on top of that sheet cake a photo of the book, of One Petal at a Time, and did some cute little drawings of bicycles on the sides of the cake. And looking at that photo made me recognize, I don't know, the term popped in my head. This is not a piece of cake. It was sweet to have a piece of cake there to share with the folks who came to the launch, but it's not easy. It's not a walk. I guess I could have said it's not a walk in the park. Although the last time I walked in the park, I tripped and tore my meniscus, so it could be. But I've not yet choked on a piece of cake. I've gained weight on a piece of cake, but nothing negative has happened. Enjoying and inhaling, as I do, a piece of cake, and caregiving isn't. Caregiving isn't, and that's when I put it together, and I've been using it in my print ads. That caregiving is not a piece of cake. But the one thing that I like to share with my audiences are the positives that come out of being a caregiver. It is difficult. It's not all doom and gloom, even though it would appear to be. And if you look hard enough, you see the humor, you see the lightness, you see the good, you see the piece of cake. You see this,
and the cake comes in many different flavors and different sizes, and
yep.
And some of the pieces are better than others. So I just really get this analogy, because I don't know. I guess I'm just big on analogies because it really helps us. It helps us understand. But when you said this today, it just resonated with me, and I would imagine most, if not all, of our listeners are gonna understand exactly where you're coming from.
I would hope so. I would think so. Boy, it even comes gluten-free, doesn't it?
It does, and look at all the ingredients.
Which is very scaled down, and that's what we have to be at times to be a caregiver.
We need a gluten-free caregiving experience. Now there's some thought there.
Yeah, we'll work on that one. Chris, you and I will work on that. Send me your thoughts. But no, as I am being asked more and more often to speak to various and sundry groups, my first thought is, well, what the heck can I tell somebody who is already a caregiver who knows everything? And then I realized none of us know everything. And what I can do best is share my personal story. And my personal story best serves me by finding some joy in the caregiving role. And so that's the track that I've taken, and as I'm writing speeches, I'm finding that I'm allowing myself to share and finding ways to share with my audiences the upside. Certainly, big upside of caregiving is that you are caring for someone you love deeply, and there is no better way to show love than caring for someone in this manner. But there are other little things that kind of sneak in there that we, in the hot rush and craziness of being a caregiver, we tend to miss. And if I can give some of that sweetness to folks, I feel so good.
Well, I think anytime you can add a special ingredient to a difficult situation, it impacts the situation that makes it just a little bit better, and that's why this analogy just resonates, because I don't know, I've never met anyone that didn't like a piece of cake. I don't know about you.
My son doesn't like cake.
Your son doesn't like cake.
My son doesn't like cake.
Goodness.
Where did he come from?
Goodness gracious, Saint Ignatius! I've been proven wrong. Well, I haven't met him yet, so I'll go with that. But every cake, cakes taste differently, and sometimes we do get a bad piece of cake, but that shouldn't damper our thoughts about having another piece of cake. And
exactly.
When we're in the midst of caregiving, I think we can say with all assurity that there are some days better than others, but that doesn't make the whole experience bad.
No, it doesn't, and it can't. Joseph Campbell, I'm big on quotes, but Joseph Campbell really nailed it when he said, and I'm going to paraphrase here, that we need to be prepared to give up the life we envisioned in order to accept the life that we have. Need to be prepared to give up the life we envision in order to accept the life that we have. And that's the story for the caregiver. We need to be prepared to give up whatever it was that we envisioned of life, to recognize and to settle ourselves into what is going on now. And one way to do that is through acceptance. And I can go into, I use Taoism as acceptance. The Chinese philosophy, Tao, relating to the English word path.
Yes. I love that, by the way.
Yeah,
that's one of those areas that you and I really connect on.
Yes, absolutely. And I believe we discussed it last time we were on together. And I used the Tao, and I used defiance. I throw in defiance. Defying self-limiting behaviors, particularly, the times when I hear myself saying, I can't do this. This is too hard. We need to defy that. We need to stop it, cut it out, and start living truly the lives that we now have. Whether they're the lives we wanted or not, they are the lives we now have, and we darn well better make the most of it and the best of it, or we're just going to be miserable for however long we are here.
Well, I think oftentimes when we're thrust into these caregiving roles, we're often unprepared,
Yes.
And kind of going along with our theme today, we're unprepared, so we don't really know the ingredients because caregiving just happens. It's an unfortunate accident, an untimely diagnosis, and all of a sudden you're a caregiver.
Yeah.
What are the important ingredients that will help you in your caregiving experience? One of the most important ingredients is self-care. How do you care for yourself while you're in the middle of caregiving? And you just pointed out something that's equally as important about giving up. I often have said, I hope you will appreciate this, that oftentimes in caregiving you have to give up the things you love in order to care for the person that you love. That's that's not easy. When you have a life that's planned, or you think that it's planned, and all of a sudden, bam, you've got, oh gosh, all these analogies are just coming to my head. You've got something cooking in the oven, and you've got to attend to it.
You're really good with this. I like.
You just opened my. That's why I love these conversations, because it just gets my mind going, and that's why it's. And again, we talked about this offline as well. That these are all about. It's all about sharing ideas and conversations. There's no special formula. There's no special recipe that's going to resolve everything. But when we share these ideas and these thoughts, we not only we connect personally, but we connect with people who are in similar positions that we are.
Yes,
and that's what this is all about.
Exactly, and hopefully someone out there right now is listening to us and saying, "Oh, yeah, that resonates. Oh, yeah, that'll help me." And that's what you and I want to do.
That's right. Because they might have an ingredient that we're not aware of that can help us in our journey as well. So if you've got some caregiving ingredients out there, all our listeners, we want to hear from you at wholecarenetwork.com. So, CJ, you've got me going today. So
I just have this vision of me hosting a podcast at some point and calling it something about a piece of cake. Well, you'll help me do that.
I can help you do that, and I think we can do that in the kitchen. We'll create your podcast. We'll make it a video podcast in the kitchen.
Oh my gosh! You don't want to see with flour all over the kitchen. Nah, maybe not.
That's a perfect visual for what goes on in caregiving.
Exactly.
Everything's kind of all over the place. When there's some days are better than others. So
yes. But one thing that you mentioned is, and everyone says it. That's the first thing that I heard when I was caring for Joe was take care of yourself.
Right.
And okay, so there's a cake that's called Take Care of Yourself. Mm-hmm. How the heck do you bake that? What the heck do you do? What are the ingredients? I'm loving this. What are the ingredients? And what I recognized is that one thing to do is not allow others to dictate to you how you keep in touch with them. There are those who like to call. They feel good calling you. It's wonderful. They want to hear your voice. I want to hear the voices of my friends and loved ones, but not necessarily when they want to hear my voice. There are those who want me to respond to texts, or emails ASAP. And that's not always possible. And so one ingredient in that take care of yourself is to dictate to them. Well, dictate is a strong word. Suggest to them the best ways for keeping in touch. For me, when Joe was in the most dire of his situation, I wrote group emails. And if anyone did not understand that they were part of a very, very large and caring and loving group, then I had not heard anything negative about that. They all got it. They all understood. That was my way of keeping in touch, actually. Those emails became the meat of the book, one petal at a time. It might you might say to someone, to your friends, I know you want to call, but I might not answer the phone when you call. Please just leave a message and be content with that. You need to be the boss, if that's the right word. You need to direct the way it's best to keep in touch with you. That is one of the main ingredients in taking care of yourself.
Very much so. And I as I'm listening to you, I was thinking, and I wanted to ask this question to you as you looked at a recipe. Did you ever adjust somebody else's recipe, kind of change it just a little bit to kind of make it more for your style or for your taste?
Oh, absolutely. And
sure you have.
We need to do that. And sometimes, Chris, it doesn't rise, it doesn't work, but you've given it a shot. You've tried it. A little less sugar might require a little more something else.
That's right.
Go gluten-free, and you're going to need something else to help it rise. But eventually,
one of my most, how do I want to say this? One ingredient that I just really despise is sour cream.
Uh-huh.
But there's a lot of sour cream sometimes in cakes.
Yeah, and you might want to change that to yogurt.
That's right, and it's all about it's about changing some of your daily routines while you're in the midst of caregiving.
Exactly.
It's okay not to answer that text or that phone call immediately, because that might be your 5 minutes that you're taking for yourself, just for yourself. And it's okay to say no. And sometimes I think in the midst of caregiving, we really forget that. Yeah.
We also forget that everything does not take precedence over everything else. For instance, just as you and I were speaking, about 4 or 5 minutes ago, a phone was ringing in the background. I
think I heard that.
You heard that. It's hard to disguise. But it rang and it did its thing, and so be it. Stephen Covey talks about the 4 habits of highly effective, or the 7 habits of highly effective people, and he has his quadrants of productivity. He has a quadrant called urgent and important, one quadrant that is important but not urgent, another that is urgent but not important, and one quadrant that is not important and not urgent. Well, if we placed everything in our lives, our caregiving lives, into the urgent and important category, we'd be a mess. We'd be racing all over the place. That phone ringing was urgent, but not important, unless it was a doctor's office, in which case, if I was taking care of Joe and I was expecting the doctor to call, I would have that phone right next to me, and yes, I would know, I would answer it. But when you and I were speaking just now, that phone was ringing urgently. It wasn't important. And these are the things that we need to know as caregivers as well. We need to know how to pace ourselves, how to place each activity into its real role and where it needs to be taken care of.
Well, and I'll continue on with our theme today. You don't have to bake 6 cakes at the same time.
No.
You can bake. It's okay to bake 1 cake today.
Uh-huh.
You don't have to multitask and make different cakes. You don't have to do a chocolate, an orange, a pineapple. I mean, you can just do 1 cake, and it's okay. Because our caregiving capes are limited. We think that we're omnipotent and that we can just do everything, but we can't, and that's because we care.
What if I want a piece of chocolate cake and a piece of vanilla cake and a piece of pineapple upside down cake, and I need to have it now? Well, I can go to the store. I can let somebody else help me.
Wait a minute. Did somebody else help you?
Oh my God, what a concept.
What a concept.
What a concept. Or I can set out a timeline and say, well, okay, I'll bake a chocolate cake today, and tomorrow I'll bake a pineapple upside down cake. But if I can't do it tomorrow for some reason, I'll do it the next day, and kind of set it out in that manner.
Well, I don't know about you, but some of the most enjoyable times I've had while I'm in the kitchen is cooking with somebody else. So
Yep.
maybe invite somebody else over on your care team to help you with that cake.
Exactly.
Because remember, asking for help is not a sign of weakness; it's a sign of strength.
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of the principles in Taoism is Te, Te, and it talks about our unique abilities and honoring our unique abilities and living to our unique abilities as best as we can. But on the flip side of that, and just as important, is recognizing that we all cannot be experts in everything. And in those areas where we don't have the expertise, we're not to knock ourselves down. The teen girl who can sing but can't play basketball and so is envious of the basketball player has to learn that her skill set lies elsewhere than in basketball.
Right.
And allow herself that. And we need to, as caregivers, allow ourselves to recognize what our skill sets are. Certainly, never to say, I can't do this, I'm not good at this, and then just give up. To try to continue to grow in our abilities, but to be able to look around and say, that's not where I'm at now. I'm going to need help. And then know who to ask for help.
Oh, goodness. It is so important to be able to feel comfortable in asking for help.
Yeah.
Because
if I'm...
all the great chefs have help. Julia Childs had help.
And I'm thinking that if I'm baking a chocolate cake and I want help, I'm not going to ask my son.
That's right, 'cause he's the only person in the world who doesn't like cake.
Exactly. But I'll ask Julia.
Goodness, CJ, I could just talk forever with you, but we just got a couple of minutes left. First of all, tell our listeners about your book. How is it doing, and where they can purchase the book?
The book is getting gorgeous reviews, and folks, I haven't even paid anyone for these reviews. So it's making me feel very good, and they're not even reviews just from family and friends, but it is one petal at a time, which is a nod to Joe, who was a long-distance cyclist. One petal at a time, a novice caregiver and her cyclist husband face their new normal with courage, tenacity, and abundant love. The book is available everywhere, but of course most people go to Barnes & Noble online, or Amazon is where I'm seeing most sales. I'm at CJ Golden, GOLDEN.com, and from there you can hop off onto my Facebook page, LinkedIn, read about me, see my mug, see my face with makeup on, and learn about all things CJ Golden.
Now, please, that's not makeup. It's baking powder.
Yes. Oh God! Look what I started.
Look what you started. You started a trend. You're now you're now a caregiving chef.
I love it. My God, the caregiving chef.
The caregiving chef. Okay, I'm writing that one down too.
Okay, good. You take notes for me. Because I don't have my glasses on, and so I can't take notes.
Well, I've got you covered on this. But CJ, through the great work that you're doing with your book and your presentations, and now your baking expertise, you are certainly someone who's creating healing ties all around us. I can't thank you enough for joining me today.
Chris, thank you so much.
Okay, goodness, what a wonderful conversation today. It's always great to reconnect with friends and just explore not only opportunities and possibilities, but to have conversations that have a meaning to an end. And you think about caregiving and baking, sure, it might be far-fetched for some of us, but when you're in the caregiving trenches, you certainly understand the analogy.
Well, the analogies that you tossed out made it so real. I loved it.
I'm Chris McClellan, the Bowtie Guy. I'm creating a life to love after caregiving ends through radio, writing, travel, advocacy, and being with awesome people like CJ Golden. Healing Ties is a part of the Whole Care Network. Check us out online at thewholecarenetwork.com. We'll see you for another episode of Healing Ties real soon. Bye-bye.